Hello everyone and welcome to my presentation on the Chinese character stroke types. So in this video I will try to explain to you what different stroke types there are in Chinese characters. And since I haven't found any standardized explanation as to how many different strokes there are, I have been looking at different sources and I always ended up reading about different numbers of the most basic Chinese character strokes, so I decided to sort of collect all the data and produce my own number of the most basic strokes in Chinese character, and I ended up with the number 6. So based on the Chinese calligraphic tradition, I'm going to use the character Yong, which is this one that you can see over here in the middle of your screen, to explain to you and show you all these different strokes and not all their variations, but some of the variations that they can have. This character, by the way, means eternity or eternal, and it is often used by calligraphers to demonstrate the 8 different calligraphy, I should say, stroke types or stroke styles that you can use in Chinese characters. This is not very accurate. As you will see in later videos, there are more than just 8 different stroke types or 6 different stroke types, or more than 8 things that you can do to these strokes to sort of change them. But I think for beginners and just for the sake of simple explanation, this character and the explanation that there are 6 basic strokes and by extension 8 sort of variations will perfectly do. So the first stroke, we'll start from top to bottom, is the stroke which is called Daeun. It's this one over here. And Daeun, if you translate it into English, it means a dot. But the thing is that when you write it on a piece of paper, it never can be a dot. It is a very short line which starts on the top left and finishes on bottom right. In some characters it is slightly extended, but it is never as long as this one. And there are only 2 possible strokes in Chinese characters that can start top left and finish bottom right. And that's this Daeun stroke and this stroke over here, this which is called Na. And basically you can distinguish them by the fact that this Na stroke is much longer, and if it's written in calligraphy it will have this this typical sort of extended or widened shape at the end. So the dot stroke can be found in many characters and is very frequent, either on the left side, on the right side, finishing off characters, and so on. So it's a very frequent stroke. The second stroke that we encounter in this character is this stroke over here, which is called Heng. Let me just highlight that, and the Daeun, so we know that we talked about them already. Heng, it's just a horizontal stroke. And there's another sort of horizontal stroke that you can see over here, but it's different, and I will tell you why. The difference between them is, even though you can see it over here because it connects right away to another stroke, but the difference between them is that the horizontal Heng stroke is a stroke where you apply pressure all the way through the stroke. You put the pen down on the paper. At the left side you pull the pen, and once you get to the end of the stroke you pick it up. So basically the stroke is evenly thick on both ends, whereas this stroke over here, which is called T, this one, it has a different way of writing. I mean, the technique of writing is, well, technique if you can call it like that. You put the pen down on the paper at the beginning of the stroke, and then as you pull it to the right side you raise it. And so the effect of it is this edge at the end. Let me try to do that on this tablet. I don't know if this is visible enough, but as you can see, the stroke begins, as it begins it is thick, and as it finishes it has this sort of sharpened edge at the end. So we had this Heng stroke, and then we had this T stroke, and we're continuing on to this long vertical stroke. And by the way, this is not the order of strokes. I mean, this character should not be written in this way. I'm only showing you the strokes for the sake of explanation. The stroke has its own sort of writing order in order to write it correctly. So this long stroke over here is this one, and it's just a vertical stroke, and it's called Shu, and it's present in many characters. It's a very frequent one as well. Now we move on to this one, which is also all of these strokes are actually very frequent. You can see them all over the it's just like the basic building blocks of characters. So you can see them all over the place. So this stroke is called pie, and it's this one. And as you can see, the technique of writing the stroke is the same as with the T stroke. So you basically apply pressure at the beginning, you pull it and decrease pressure, pull the pen and decrease pressure towards the end of the stroke. So you have this effect where the stroke is thick at the beginning and thin at the end. And this stroke has many different variations. It can be very short, something like this, and can be very long, starting almost vertically and finishing like so. So this stroke is very tricky in characters. For instance, this stroke that you see over here is the same one, even though it doesn't look like that. Let me just show you. This stroke and this stroke are the same two strokes, and you know that because no other strokes starts at the top right and finishes bottom left, and no other stroke starts thick on the top right and finishes thin on the bottom left. So that's the PS stroke. And the last stroke that we have, let me just highlight that. And the last stroke is this one. And the last stroke is this one, which is called na. Also a super frequent stroke. You can see it all over the place. And again, it is the only stroke that starts top left and finishes bottom right. And it's almost impossible to write with a pen on a piece of paper. You really need a brush, a calligraphic brush, to write it like this, to have this long extended thicker end of the stroke at the bottom right side. When you write it with a piece of pen, the only thing that you need to do is to write it like this. It's not even bent, it's just a long stroke starting top left, finishing bottom right. Now one more thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to this particular character, Yong, is that calligraphers say that this is the character that shows the 8 possible stroke types in Chinese. So let me just clean all this up. Alright, like so. And, well, if you count the strokes, so let me show you how to write it. So you go 1, this is 1 stroke, this is 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there are only 5 strokes in this character, and I was wondering, why is it called the character that shows you the 8 possible strokes in Chinese characters? Well, the reason for this is that strokes have their alternations, and there are things that you can do to them. So let me just try to show you on this character what you can do, some of the things that you can do to these 6 strokes that you can see over here, to alter them and to change them. They will still be the same basic strokes, but they will have some alternations to them. So first the Daeun stroke, that doesn't change at all, and then you sort of this hung stroke, this vertical strokes, has two changes to them. So the first one is you start the horizontal stroke and then you bend it. It's called zhe. You bend it and you continue into the vertical stroke, and you do a go. Go is called a hook at the end. So basically this is 1 stroke, but it shows you 3 things. 1, the bend and the hook. So on this particular stroke, you have the horizontal one, the bend, the vertical one, and then the hook at the end. So you have, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's already 4 things out of the 8. So you have the T stroke bent into a P stroke. So that's 6, 7. This one doesn't count because it's the same as this one. And here you go. This is 8. So one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So one more time. 1, 2, bend, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This doesn't count, and 8. So that's it. That's it for the presentation on Chinese character strokes. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next videos.